when did you start, like, guess thinking of the landmine, and when did that come into your mind as like a whole process?
So like I said, went down the powerlifting sort of rabbit hole, and I was working as a strength coach with junior high school this entire time, and then with a few private athletes. Had a big time powerlifting program. Then I got into Olympic weightlifting, and that became my focus. And then I got into David Weck's stuff and the spinal engine stuff. And it was a big light bulb for me that, man, when we run, when we move, we don't brace our core in neutral like we do for every single exercise that we've been doing.
Imagine bracing your core while running. Like, just imagine running that way.
And legitimately, man, I'm telling you that is what's being taught. And I think that to brace your core neutral and 90-90 arm swing.
Seriously?
Those are the drills we did, and that's still how they're teaching it. They watched it from the side. This is all new, this concept of rotating through the core. The spinal engine theory, Serge Grakovetsky, is a textbook that David put me on. And basically he says that the spine is the primary engine for locomotion. So movement, rotation through the spine is actually what generates most of the power. So when I heard that, when I started thinking that way, and when I met David and saw some of his coiling core stuff, I really wanted to connect dots between what he was doing and the strength training.
Yeah.
And that was became an obsession for me.
Power Project family, your normal shoes are making you weak. This is why I partner with Vivo Barefoot Shoes, because they have a wide toe box, they're flat, and they're flexible. So with every single step you're taking, if you're taking a 10-minute walk outside, or when you're working out in the gym, your feet are able to do what they're supposed to do in this shoe. They have tons of options for hiking, running, training in the gym, chilling and relaxing, casual shoes for if you're out on a date. You need to check them out. And Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject, and you guys will receive 15% off your order automatically. Again, vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
I think Olympic lifting can be amazing.
It really can.
And some people are like, well, just take the time to teach it. And I totally understand. And if it's someone's forte. But what I would say against Olympic lifting, one of my biggest things against it was always that the heavier that people normally go, the worse their form and technique gets.
Right.
And in powerlifting, which I don't think that people should necessarily powerlift or weightlift only for sport. I think you would want to sprinkle in a lot of other things to be more athletic. But in powerlifting, if your form's not better, you're not going to be able to do the lift. Olympic lifting, you can almost say that that bad form almost promotes you to sometimes get the lift to a certain degree. And I know, again, there are people that teach it with a lot of precision, and there are people that do take their time. And I do think that Olympic lifting has a great place in sport. But again, I think it would just take a lot of diligence. It would take a lot of patience to keep the weights light so you can actually move them properly and move your body around them properly.
Yeah, and I can say, coming from a Division I football program, that as much time as we put into it, exactly what you're saying was the case, that when we got heavy, everyone looked like shit doing these cleans. It became a dangerous thing, but they didn't know how to check that box. I want you to move this weight as explosively as possible, and this is the only exercise where we move the bar that fast. And I am not anti-Olympic lifting. I'm not anti any type of lifting, but I do think we're providing a really great alternative. And if you're trying to make your athletes more explosive, then I think you should have multiple tools in your toolbox that involve explosive weight training. So this is another good one. And sprinkles in a little bit of this forward intent. So we're always driving forward. The whole lift is done through the balls of your feet, which is different than powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting. I feel strongly about that advantage. When you do one of our landmine sessions, you'll be on the balls of your feet driving forward the whole time, so that aggressive shin angle is layered into everything we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we are going to look for in most sports. And then the rotational component is really what makes it so special, is that we're generating core-driven power, and these long side, short side core switches are how we generate the force, how we move the bar fast. And it's just there's a lot of carryover there to be had for fighters and anyone who wants to sprint.
The shin angle on both sides, right? Like the front leg, you're going to have the knee driving forward quite a bit, but on that back leg, the shin sometimes is parallel to the floor, right?
Yeah, and our goal is really a congruent, so your spine and your shin are both going to be parallel at an aggressive angle with that front shin, and that's just how you can move forward.
Yeah, and you watch someone do a takedown, watch someone throw a baseball, watch somebody, dunk a basketball. You're going to see these kind of low shin angles, or somebody playing defense in basketball, or somebody throwing a ball from third to first and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You see it time and time again in sports.
Just the path of the bar, the fact that we're moving it a little bit horizontal as well as vertical.
Mm-hmm. That was like a kettlebell swing, but to the side. That looked brutal.
I want to reiterate though, because as you were showing it to me yesterday, the feet are huge. Like when you think of, if you guys were to visualize someone doing a snatch or someone doing a clean, think about the feet of those athletes. And again, let's think of field athletes and grapplers. But then if you pull up another video of you doing some of these different landmine movements, the force that you need to be able to receive in your feet going from side to side, not only are you able to work with load, but now it's like your ability to just move with that load and be explosive with that load on the balls of your feet is something that you don't typically get with these other lifts. You don't get that with Olympic lifts.
You got to catch the weight too.
You have to catch the weight. Don't get me wrong, for all you Olympic lifting lovers, there's portions where you go up with that force and you receive that load, but you're receiving it flat-footed.
And an advantage too is just the fact that it's all unilateral. If we're going to flex one hip, then we're going to extend the other one, and that's mostly like what you do in sport. So even a small pattern like that, the more times we can grease that groove, right? How many times are you going to perform this pattern? Because as we know from doing a lot of bilateral, both hips flex, both hips extend, that becomes how you move. That starts to
Dude, and another cool thing is that this ingrains quickly. When we were doing it yesterday, I remember when I walked up to the bar, you're like, oh, that's the wrong foot, that's the wrong hand. I was like, oh shit, yeah. But when you do a few reps with just the bar and you get the hang of it, an athlete can get the hang of this quickly and can probably start loading it quickly. And the carryover is just, it's quick. There's a minimal learning curve for most people.
Yeah, that's because it's natural, and because it's an exaggerated range of motion from how you walk.
Yeah.
But to flex one, extend the other one, my experience has been that people pick this up really quick, and we're getting a lot more range out of your core, your trunk muscles. But it's crazy how fast people learn it. I can comfortably go into a room full of 20 kids, that's always my measuring stick. If someone introduces something to me, gives me information that I don't feel like I can share with 20 kids, because that's who I'm going home to, I lose interest really fast. So I need it to be simple. I need it to be straightforward, and I need the learning curve to be small, because we're trying to use this to train. We're not training Olympic weightlifters, we're training wrestlers. So we need the tool to be easy to present, and then we need to be able to load it to our liking. Doesn't always have to be super heavy, but if you're looking for a certain range or a certain speed, I want to be able to get there and spend most of our time actually training.
Another huge advantage here, I don't know what the science would say or show, but there's really not a lot of spinal loading, like spinal compression, but you do have loading, right? So it's a way to load your hips, your glutes, your legs, your calves, and it just doesn't seem like there's that same downward compression that you might get from a deadlift. I know Nsima has mentioned, he's like, I think I'm just going to kind of nix sumo deadlifts, because I don't know, when am I in that position when I'm, doing my jujitsu? So, and again, Olympic lifting, a lot of times people's feet, they flop way out to the sides. In a lot of powerlifting movements, they just don't seem like I hate the word carryover, but they don't seem like they have a great purpose and have a great carryover. Now, if you're doing them because of consistency and because of fun, well, now we can have a slightly different conversation, because I think it's important that you get to the gym. It's massively important that you develop some strength, and it's massively important that you develop some muscle. So that might be a different conversation rather than what's optimal.
Yeah, and I do think there's a big spectrum there, where if you are maybe sedentary compared to a guy that does a lot of Olympic weightlifting, well, gosh, he's going to be more explosive. There's a lot of carryover to our stuff from Olympic weightlifters. If you have experience with traditional cleans or snatches. When I show you the landmine versions of these movements, you're going to pick them up really fast because the rhythm is similar. There are things that you develop through any type of strength training that I believe are super powerful. If you trained sumo deadlifts your whole life and person B didn't train anything, and then we brought you guys in to do some split squats or lunges, I do think you'd perform better because I think your muscles are stronger. But when we're going for max carryover, which is really what I'm interested in, when you're training with athletes, you don't have a ton of time. You want as much carryover as possible. I think we're doing some pretty powerful stuff here.
Power Project family, we appreciate you checking out this clip. Check out another one. Just go check out another one. Or comment down below and let us know what you liked about this one. But we love you guys, and we're going to keep bringing you the heat. So comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff, okay? Peace.